Tell him, McCluskey. Tell him what time it is.
Little Hen says it's time to rock and roll.
All you people are so scared of me.
Come quietly or there will be trouble.
Man, that's just me.
I'm Batman.
This is Sparta!
There is a tiger in the bathroom!
I'm an excellent driver.
If it bleeds, we can kill it.
Pop quiz, hotshot.
Keep the change, you filthy animal.
Well, well. Jack Sparrow, isn't it?
Captain Jack Sparrow, if you please.
Well, I don't see your ship. Captain?
I'm in the market, as it were.
He said he'd come to commandeer one.
Told you he was telling the truth. These are his,
No additional shots nor powder. Compass that doesn't point north. And I half expected it to be made of wood. You are without doubt the worst pirate I've ever heard of.
But you have heard of me.
Hello and welcome to this week's slightly delayed but a day early Monday movie show on Sunday. No? Yeah. Apologies for there were technical issues, but hopefully those have been solved and we will not have them during the show. Yeah, right. It is Sunday the 25th of January, already coming to the end of January for 2015. If you're listening to us live in the corner, you can join us in chat in the bottom right hand corner as usual on the Spreaker website. If you're listening to us on the podcast, thanks for listening to us, and feel free to give us some feedback at Monday Movie Show at yahoo.com first of all, or put some comments on our Facebook page, which is on facebook.com/Monday Movie Show, or you can tweet us at Monday Movie Show. I'm Andrew.
And I'm not, I've got problems, technical problems, Stuart.
Yeah.
Already, technical problems with the show, technical problems with speech, which I'm always guarantee that we'll have many of them during tonight's show. So
I think I just need to keep a tally of those and then see if the number is a prime number or something at the end.
Yeah, I smell a drinking game in there somewhere.
Yeah. How many times can I trip up my own tongue?
Ditto. How many names can we forget?
Oh yeah, that's the one. That's the one that's getting worse. But this week we've got quite a few releases in the cinema release as well as DVD section. There we go. There it is already. We're covering these movies.
Alex Garland directorial debut with science fiction mind-bending Ex Machina. Mark Whalberg stars in remake of The Gambler. Jessica Chastain and Oscar Isaacs. Oscar Isaacs appears for the second time on this week's show with a most violent year. And Johnny Depp has the strangest accent ever. This is coming from a person who constantly plays Captain Jack Sparrow in every single movie that he's in comedy Mortdecai.
Yeah, as you heard in the opening clip there, which was from Pirates of the Caribbean. Then in DVD and Blu Ray, we're covering these films as well. Denzel
Washington takes the role of Edward Woodward. Yeah, no, not likely. In The Equalizer, we have a stop-motion animation adventure with The Box Trolls, British comedy drama with What We Did on Our Holiday, a movie that's probably going to confound a lot of people in the UK, considering it's about American football in Draft Day, and then two horror movies, one which we were supposed to review last week in Honeymoon, and one which I shouldn't review this week because, yeah, you'll find out when we get to it, in Torment.
As well as our usual look at some charts in the DVD, in the cinema section. There I go again, that's twice already. I'm going to get a bell. I'm actually going to get a bell and I'm going to ring it every time.
So that's one drink.
Oh, don't do that. I already sound like I'm drunk. I will sound like drunk. I will be drunk at the end of this.
There's two drinks. Little slip up in words there. Brilliant.
Yeah. But as well as all that, we have our usual UK box office top 10 and DVD and Blu Ray top 10. But before that, we'll go on to some movie news, which I'll start with this week. Mine is all casting news this week. I have news on Pirates of the Caribbean 5. As if we really needed it.
Yeah, good luck with the name, by the way.
What? Kaya Scodelario?
Well done, I'll give you that. I'll give you that.
Yeah. Who starred last in The Maze Runner on big screens and also was originally seen in the UK TV series Skins, has been cast in the movie. It's been confirmed by Jerry Bruckheimer that she'll be starring in the film, along with, of course, Johnny Depp returning there's another one, as Captain Jack Sparrow, along with also Xavier Bardem. What is it with me in names? Xavier Bardem, who will be playing the villain this time around. The movie is set to be released sometime in July 2017. It's already started pre-production, but hasn't started filming yet in Australia. That is expected to start very soon, though. It's been directed by Joaquin Ronning and Espen Sandberg, who directed the movie Kon-Tiki.
I've seen Kon-Tiki actually. They've got at least a couple of decent directors there to take over the horrendous roles of the previous directors. Because, my thoughts on the Pirates of the Caribbean series. I think that the film itself stopped being good after 2.5. Well, 1.5. Because half of number 2 is good. The rest, that's when the series starts to go majorly downhill.
I quite like the third one, but the thing is, the first 3 were all Gore Verbinski. The fourth one, technically the second one because it was a different director, was Rob Marshall. And Rob Marshall is he's kind of like a TV director. He's very basic, doesn't do anything really cinematic in anything I've seen of his that I can think of. He did, I think it was not him, he did the Bruce Lee story one, Dragon Bruce Lee story, was it? I think he did that.
Yeah, the Bruce Lee story, yeah.
He also did... I forgot what it was now. I had it then and I've lost it. He did a film with the Elektra, the Daredevil spin-off one, the Marvel one, Jennifer Garner. Yeah. So, and as much as I will admit that I have that and I enjoy it because it's a director's cut of it. It's still not a great film.
He was also the director on Into the Woods as well. So
yeah, exactly. So enough said about that. The less said, the better. Moving on, Luke Evans, who had been cast to appear in the much maligned and much problemed production of The Crow, which was the remake of the 1995, I think it was, movie with Brandon Lee, has now left the project. This is according to website The Wrap, which confirmed that the current director, Corin Hardy, is still attached after being the 4th or 5th director who's supposedly going to be taking over the project. To be honest, I don't expect him to stay with it because it's been that many problems from them trying to get it off the ground. By the time they do, and they finally get someone else cast into it, because they were going to have Mark Whalberg amongst all the names that have been thrown out, and then Luke Evans took over, and now he's out too. So it's not going to go ahead at the moment, I don't think. What do you think? Do you even want a Crow remake? I don't.
Just leave it. There's proof that the film will never be made. The amount of problems that it's got. I think it's had more problems than the Old Boy remake, and we know how badly problematic that film was. It eventually saw the light of day, and it was one film which should never have seen the light of day because it was nowhere near as good as the original. When you've got a critically acclaimed film in The Crow, well, it wasn't majorly critically acclaimed, it's just got that fan base there behind it. Yeah.
It quickly became, and still is to a lot of people, a cult film, despite it being a film that people of the new generation, because I spoke to people recently last year who had never even heard of it, and I was like, "You've never heard of it?" I introduced them to it because the fact that they hadn't heard of it, I said, "You've got to see it," because it was not a great film when it came out, but it is a great film and all about the whole thing of the tragedy of Brandon Lee being shot while it was being made.
It should just be laid to rest. Just lay it to rest. What's the point? It's not going to do very well at the box office at all because we've seen what happened with the Dredd reboot. Even though Dredd has got a cult following behind it, a lot of people sort of like backed the movie once it was released on Blu Ray and DVD. It bombed at the box office and bombed badly at the box office. And Carl Urban has always wanted a sequel to Dredd to happen. So this is proof that something like the reboot to The Crow should just be left alone because it's not going to do very well at all.
A large part of that comparison issue with that, though, is that Dredd was only released in 3D, which was a big mistake. Didn't get a 2D release in the cinema, so...
It doesn't matter if The Crow is just released in 2D, because if you're going to get the feel of the film itself, you need to aim for at least a 15, at least a 15. Yeah. You can't like, make it into a 12 here because it will lose all of its just darkness from it. So it needs to be at least a 15, and then... I think the only people who will go to see the film will know the original, because very few people know The Crow. Like you've said, you spoke to a few people and they've never seen or heard of The Crow. Yeah. So it's only going to be aimed at the people who know the series itself.
I say give the original a cinematic re-release.
I see if you're that desperate to make a Crow reboot, try a TV series, even if it's a one-off. Just try it.
It had one.
I know, Stairway to Heaven,
yeah.
But make a deal maybe with Netflix and try something on that front. At least maybe ask Netflix to help them and try a pilot. Go through the things that Amazon does and Netflix does, where they release a pilot for a show. If it does decent enough, it picks up, and then they do 12 episodes and then release it in bulk. Just do that then, if they're interested.
Or given recent things, they say they're going to make it a series, and then they decide not to 6 months later.
At least then they'll have tried, and they won't be spending as much on making a film and bombing badly than they would be if they went through the Netflix route or the Amazon route.
Okay,
I think that's probably a better place.
My final piece of news this evening is that there's been confirmation of the actors that have now been cast for the younger versions of the X-Men in X-Men Apocalypse. The characters Storm, Jean Grey and Cyclops have been cast, with Bryan Singer confirming on Twitter that Alexandra Shipp will be playing Storm, Sophie Turner will be playing Jean Grey, and Ty Sheridan will be playing Cyclops. I'm not sure who Alexandra Shipp is. I've not seen her or anything. I don't recognise her. But Sophie Turner will be known to a lot of people if you watch Game of Thrones as Sansa Stark. And also Ty Sheridan is known to myself, and I think you will recognise him as well from Mud, and also from Joe recently as well.
Yeah, and we've also learned that Ian McKellen and Patrick Stewart are not going to be appearing in the film.
Yes, that's also been confirmed. They're not going to be appearing. But to be honest, I didn't think they would be. I thought the future roles were now tied off and done with Days of Future Past, with the events of that film. So I wasn't expecting that, to be honest. I think everyone's been kind of trying to figure out a way to work them in, and I don't think they should.
Yeah, we'll see Wolverine. Yeah, we'll see Hugh Jackman.
Yeah, but obviously he's playing a character that was the same age through the whole thing and all, and so he can play that role because he's supposed to look the same anyway. It's, I know,
but at least just leave the character alone. We've been saturated so badly with Wolverine. I don't care. Just make an X.
I don't have a problem with it. I'll see the film. I look forward to it, and in Bryan Singer's capable hands. I mean, it could be worse. It could be Brett Ratner again.
Yeah, but he's been in every single X-Men film, even including the spin-offs, which you wish, even if it was called Wolverine, you're sort of like hoping that it wasn't about him.
This is, he might be, whether or not he makes an appearance in the Gambit one, which is going to be a standalone, but
probably.
This is the thing from my opinion of that. Let me just say because you're saying about him being in every one. Wolverine, ever since the first X-Men film, has been the way to introduce the audience into the X-Men world. He was the main character in the first film, and the one that everything was sort of seen through and all about. So I don't have a problem with that. It's the same thing where people have an issue. If you know the comic of Days of Future Past, you know that Wolverine was not the one that was sent back in time. It was the character of Kitty Pryde or Shadowcat that was sent back, the one played by Ellen Page. And they decided in the films to not have her be the main one. They said it was made up the whole thing of it being, someone who's too young and such for it. But the whole thing is because Wolverine has been and always has been the main X-Men character that the audience identifies with and connects with.
But
so,
you're gonna have to choose an X-Men film where it does not feature Wolverine, because Hugh Jackman can't play Wolverine all the time. It's just not possible. If that's the case, when he's 90, he's going to be wheeled out in a wheelchair as Wolverine. He's going to be Xavier / with Wolverine. If they ever make a children's spin-off, you can just imagine X-Men babies, and they bring out Hugh Jackman and like he's 60 or 70.
They'll do CGI. They'll go the CGI route with him and do a CGI Wolverine.
Just leave him alone. Leave Wolverine alone. An X-Men film without it, you've got to do it sometime or another. Choose the next X-Men film, Apocalypse, to do it then. Be brave. Grow a pair of testicles.
What news have you got this week then?
It's been confirmed that the third How to Train Your Dragon film has been delayed until 2018. The reason for the delay is down to the reconstruction happening at DreamWorks. The company announced earlier on, late last week, that they plan to drop around 500 people and release only 2 animated films per year instead of 3. One new IP and a sequel to one of their other films. The new release schedule for DreamWorks now is Kung Fu Panda 3 and Trolls, which is their new film, in 2016, and Boss Baby with the Croods 2 in 2017. Hasn't been announced what film is going to be released alongside How to Train Your Dragon 3 in 2018.
Well, I love How to Train Your Dragon, but I also love the Kung Fu Panda series. So I will gladly look forward to that being the next film, because they are brilliant, and I love them both, the first film and the second film. Really, really surprised me when I first saw it, and I've watched them numerous times.
But I did see this because I read this piece of news out on Following the Nerd that it seems that Disney have become this almighty behemoth again. Because the fact that if your DreamWorks was probably the American company that went up alongside Disney to battle against them side by side against when it was Disney Pixar. And now it's Pixar separately, and Disney sort of like got their own animation studio, which is releasing Big Hero 6 next week. And then you had DreamWorks, so sort of like they were battling against each other, and DreamWorks was against them. It was sort of like Marvel versus DC in a way, if you look at it. But with them just reeling it back now to releasing only 2 films a year, hoping to save around about $200 million a year, it's not going to happen anymore. Because Disney are just going to say, well, we've got our Disney brand, we're going to release multiple pictures on this front, we've got the Tinkerbell series, we've got Big Hero 6, and maybe there's a few other films, and then there's Pixar, which they're going to release a few animated films in the year as well.
Pixar's got Finding Dory,
which is next year, but they're going to do that.
I've heard that also, has it been confirmed they're doing a second Incredibles film? No, is it Incredibles?
They've always said something like that, but they've got that as well. And so you can't include the studio that releases the Despicable Me series, because they're not a huge, massive studio. Ghibli,
well, they've gone up in the world.
They have, but they can't afford to release more than 2 films a year. Then you've got Ghibli, which has decided to close down now, and so Sony, they released maybe a couple of animated films here and there, and just a small little company, so it was always DreamWorks versus Disney. That's not going to happen anymore. It's just slightly annoying on that front.
And then there's Shaun the Sheep coming out later from Aardman Animation.
Yeah, Aardman. Again, Aardman can only afford to release a film every couple of years because the way they create their films, it's claymation, stop-motion animation, and it's a really arduous process to do. My other piece of news is, according to Cinema Blend, Warner Brothers have spoken to both Joel Edgerton and John Bernthal to be Tom Hardy's replacement in the Suicide Squad film. Hardy was set to play Rick Flag, however he dropped out as he wasn't happy with the role. Jake Gyllenhaal was offered it, but he turned it down.
I'm not that hyped about this one. I have been and still am really into the Marvel films. The DC ones, I'm waiting to see basically if Man of Steel was kind of a one-trick pony or not with this, and then I'm going to decide, whether or not I should root for them or not. Because I'm not entirely sold on what I'm seeing or hearing for the next one, for Batman vs Superman or whatever they decide to finally call it in the end. But I've nothing against them trying it. I just think that the last one, Man of Steel, had a lot of influence from Christopher Nolan, who's no longer with the project. So, yeah.
We'll give them the benefit of the doubt because they've yet to actually release a film sort of to kick off their Wave 1 series of sorts, even though Man of Steel was that. Well, they are technically in one film into it, and it took a while for Marvel to get going as well.
Thing is, they finished doing all the principal photography, I believe, and then they still haven't released any footage yet. They had footage that they showed at Comic-Con, but they never released any version of it yet. So I'm waiting to see that, because that's going to be a point as well to decide when I see that, whether or not I'm going to go, ooh, excited, or if I'm going to be like the Star Wars teaser and go, yeah, not doing it.
And the Star Wars teaser, it was just a teaser, and they weren't never going to release as much as...
a Star Wars teaser should have me going, yeah, that's it, I want to see that, I'm looking forward to that, especially someone who loved the original trilogy and didn't mind, but didn't particularly love them, the new trilogy. But someone who sees... I should have been more enthusiastically hit than I was with the Star Wars film, and that's what I'm looking forward to, seeing how I react to the first of the sort of the Justice League build-up.
Well, that's not going to stop you from going to see Star Wars anywhere. And look what happened with the second trailer that they released for Avengers: The Age of Ultron. That was just majorly ugh.
Yeah, that was underwhelming as well.
Majorly ugh. That's it for my news.
Okay then, let's get going straight into the DVD. Sorry, DVD. There we go. Tripping up again. The UK box office top 10.
Yep.
Starting number 10 with Met Opera, The Merry Widow.
Yeah, we'll throw that out the window completely and go to number 11 instead, Testament of Youth. Because if you... when I was compiling the box office top 10, because I have to wait for it to be released on one of the official sites before I can write it up for our site, MondayMovieShow.co.uk, or for followingthenerd.com. So I get my information from other sources to be able to construct my top 10. On one site releases it where it is, so the Met Opera at number 10. If you look on another site which releases the US top 10, Box Office Mojo, which is the big site that IMDb bought and supposedly closed down but kept open, they don't include events in their top 10s. So technically number 10 was Testament of Youth. So we'll just go with that anyway, but it's directed by James Kent. It centres around the story Regan Vera Britton, played by Elisa Vikander. It's a very interesting, very touching movie at times. It can fall into the melodramatic stages, but it's definitely worth a watch.
At number 9 is a new entry for Wild.
Yeah, I wasn't as enamoured with the film as much as you were. It's a brilliant performance by Reese Witherspoon, who has to make a journey across America 1,100 miles to try and get a new life. Like I said, it's very well acted from her. I just think everything else around her was lacking slightly, and it was just a bit boring at times and too long.
And number 8 is Birdman.
Getting the accolades that I don't think it definitely deserves, but Michael Keaton definitely deserves the accolade for Best Actor, because he is fantastic in the film. Edward Norton is very kooky and crazy and a bit insane, but that's his character. And it's an interesting film. I hated the music, though.
I'm a little disappointed by its entry at number 7 for Whiplash.
I'm majorly disappointed as well. J.K. Simmons is brilliant. Miles Teller is brilliant in the film. A lot of people seem to be harking on how fantastic J.K. Simmons is. Yes, he is fantastic. But give some plaudits as well to Miles Teller, because he's the one who's had to go through all the trauma and trouble with all this drum training that he does. When you see his hands bloodied, he's the one who's having to do that. J.K. Simmons, all he's doing is just throwing out a few witty quips and swearing at him a lot and throwing things at him. But
and apparently he did genuinely start bleeding as well when he was practicing, and some of the filming, some of the shots in the film that have a little bit of blood on the symbols and that is genuine. It's not makeup stuff. It's actually from Miles Teller playing.
Yeah, and that's how you do jazz, Birdman. Take note, because the jazz that you featured in Birdman was so annoying that it gave you a headache. The jazz that featured in Whiplash was so soothing but brilliantly constructed that it added tension to the film rather than distracting from the film.
Yeah, and such an intense final 10 minutes of the film as well, made up from the music. Number 6 is The Hobbit, The Battles of Five Armies.
40 million, snow.
Yeah, 40,331,079 pounds.
That's a lot of snow.
Number 5 is Paddington.
Doing brilliantly for itself at the US box office. It's taken well over its budget over there now. The Weinsteins helped to release it over there. But it's a brilliant family film.
Still been beaten by The Hobbit, though.
Yeah, I know, but The Hobbit's been out longer.
Yeah.
Has it?
I don't know, actually.
I think they were released around about the same time.
Number 5 is Paddington. Number 4 is Into the Woods.
Snow. It's fine for the first 2/3, and then after that it just goes off into boring territory because it should have just ended at the end of the 2/3.
Yep, totally agree. At number 3 is The Theory of Everything.
Again, it's another one of those films that definitely deserves the nods that it's getting because of the acting from Eddie Redmayne, who plays Stephen Hawkins in the film. Brilliantly done by him, especially because the fact that he had to... The way he's acting is thinking... You actually think that he's got motor neuron disease, which what Stephen Hawkins has got, where he has to contort his body in the wheelchair during the life cycle of him. But it's also brilliantly done by... I think it's Hayley Atwell, isn't it? Not Hayley Atwell.
No, it's not. It's Penelope. I can't remember. I'm gonna have to look it up.
Yeah, it is.
Felicity Jones. Felicity Jones. Yeah. There's our first bell for the name that we forgot.
It's brilliantly done by Felicity Jones because the story itself of The Theory of Everything is actually told from her standpoint of view as well. So. It's a really good central performance from both characters, from both actors.
Yeah. Highest new entry this week at number 2 for American Sniper.
Yeah, it's gone over the 200 million now at the US box office, which is insane for the film that it is. I think it's only got a budget of around about $60 million. But it's still causing a lot of controversy with people being split down regarding the message itself. The way I see the film, that doesn't overly bother me. The part that bothers me is how Clint Eastwood constructed the American part of the film. I just think it lacked any kind of depth or heart or any intensity that the sniper section of the film managed to do. He's able to shoot those scenes with brilliant nuances and brilliant tension. It's just, you're supposed to relax a tiny little bit in between, and you just find yourself slightly distracted and bored with the American part.
The issue I have with that is the fact that I've heard a lot of people criticise the film for it being very one-sided, with the whole thing of it being sort of the American versus the Afghani sort of troops, or that kind of one-sidedness of it. But the thing is that I've not read the book, but the whole thing of the man Carl, I forgot what his name is now as well, but the character played by
Chris Kyle.
Yes, sorry. It's the thing of that it's based on the book written by him, so it is going to be sort of a one-sided thing. It's not going to have. It's not a story that's told from the outside. It's a story that's told from the perspective of the American soldier. So that one-sidedness isn't a fault of the film. It's a fault of the book. But the adaptation of the film from the book, I don't know. As I say, I haven't read the book, but I can only imagine it would be as one-sided as that. It's not going to be showing either side, because the fact that he was up against sort of a sniper of the other side, but wouldn't have known him.
It still would have been better to see it from that, but I'm not like I said, I wasn't overly bothered by that. It was just the American part that I was bothered by, because it just didn't. Even though there are sections of it where you see he's got the traumatic stress of the things that he's had to do, the decisions that he's had to make out in Iraq during these tours, it just never feels like he is completely struck by it. When you see his character at the start of the film being dropped by his girlfriend because supposedly he walks in on her and he's the one to get the blame, he's just sitting there very stoic as to say, yeah, fine, I'll just take it. It's just, I felt like the American part could have easily been much betterly handled than it was.
Which means that the number one film, believe it or not, for a second week in a row, is Taken 3.
God, it just doesn't get going until the last 10 minutes when it realises it's got a bad guy in the film. We need to make him do something. It takes every single other element from other action films, including Die Hard 4.0, and even though Die Hard 4.0 is not bad, you don't want to take your set pieces from that film. It's just, that's when you're starting to get yourself really desperate, when you're taking set pieces from other films that a lot of people disregard to be a bit boring. So at least get some original ideas, and Liam Neeson, take a break from what you're doing, because you're just becoming monotonous now.
The thing is, even Liam Neeson trying to do comedy is not very good with Million Ways to Die in the West. I mean, yeah. As the trailer said, did Liam Neeson know he's acting in this?
I don't think he actually knows what he's doing anymore. I think his senility has actually managed to kick in way too early for him.
Right, that's it for this week's don't want to DVD again already, too early. That's it for this week's UK box office. Let's go on to our first review. Well, I'm going to shut my mouth and Stuart can do some talking.
I think I distracted you slightly with the senility and Liam Neeson thing.
Yeah, no, you're spurning it on in me.
Okay, so you've got senility and then... That's not very good then, isn't it, for a podcast? Right, the first film of the week is, I would say, is the big release of the week. It's Ex Machina. It's directed by Alex Garland. It's his directorial debut. He's a writer. He's wrote films like 28 Days Later. He's done a lot of films for Danny Boyle. Wrote a lot of films for that, including Sunshine, which is, I still think, is Danny Boyle's best film. I love that movie. But in this case, what he's done is he's taken... It's a three-pronged film which centres around three characters: Oscar Isaac's Nathan, Domhnall Gleeson's Caleb, and Lisa Vikander's Ava. And it centres around Donald Gleason's character who plays Caleb, he works at a firm called Blue Book, which is the biggest search engine in the world, and he wins their lottery to go over to the creator of Blue Book, Nathan's secluded place in the mountains somewhere, which is never actually revealed where, to spend a week with him. He doesn't know why he's spending a week with him. Maybe he thinks it's just a bonding exercise, or just to meet him to sort of like pick his brains of how he created the search engine, or how he became the big person that he is. Once he gets there, he gets put into something called a Turing test, and here's a clip which explains what it is.
Do you know what the Turing test is?
Yeah, I know what the Turing test is. It's when a human interacts with a computer. And if the human doesn't know they're interacting with a computer, the test is passed.
And what does a pass tell us?
That the computer has artificial intelligence. Are you building an AI?
I've already built one. And over the next few days, you're going to be the human component in the Turing test.
Holy shit.
Yeah, that's right, Caleb. You got it. Because if that test is passed, you are dead center of the greatest scientific event in the history of man.
If you've created a conscious machine, it's not the history of man. That's the history of gods.
However, there's sort of like an ulterior motive running throughout the film of why Caleb is actually there. Not giving anything away to do with the movie. I think it's probably also best to stop describing the film there, because you're getting into plot spoiler territories. You discover that Nathan's a very destructive character. There's one really eerily creepy scene in the film where he's dancing and he's trying to persuade Caleb to sort of like loosen up a little bit and join him in the dance that he does, and it is very unnerving and unsettling, and you never think that about a dance, that it can be that on the edge. And that's what the whole film is like. When the first blackout occurs, when Caleb is locked in sort of like the glass case that he's in with Ava on the opposite side of it, when that first occurs, again, the tension just starts to grow and grow and grow. And then you're given a slight moment of respite, and then it happens again. And it's just the way Garland's what he does with the films that he writes. He adds pockets of tension and then lets you relax a little bit and then hits you again with it. So you don't expect when it happens. And that's the positive thing about this film. It's very interesting. It's very humorous in Nathan's character. He's got some really witty one-liners here and there. It's down to the innocence as well. It's down to also you question yourself about whether Ava is actually real or not. It's just very interesting that you feel like you're the one who's going through the Turing test. So it's a double Turing test that's happening. Not only Caleb's going through it, you're suffering the same fate as him. And the only negative part I can say about the film itself is, and I think it's a problem with Alex Garland's all of his films that he's wrote, is down to the ending, the way it's actually written. He has a tendency of not being able to end a film properly. If you look at his previous films, if you ask somebody, how does 28 Days Later end? They'll find it difficult on how to try and remember how it ends. The same with a lot of people weren't happy with the way Sunshine ends. And I was the same with this film. I wanted to end, there's one specific moment in the film, around about an hour and a half into it, where I wish it would just end there, rather than going on.
Sorry to interrupt you, I'm going to guess what that moment is, without spoiling it, but I'm going to guess that in a moment.
Yeah, and so I wish it would have ended at one specific point rather than going on a little bit further, because then it's left up to the audience to try and figure out or mentally picture what is happening in the last 20 minutes, because it is sort of like alluded to in the film itself, and so at least it gives you the idea of being able to picture that and how it ends. Apart from that, though, I think the film is fantastic. It's brilliantly acted by Oscar Isaac, Donald Gleason, and especially Alicia Vikander, who was in Testament of Youth, and she's proven to be a brilliant actress. It's also got a fantastic score, because the score definitely has the proper little blips and moments when the tension is supposed to increase. So it's just a brilliant, brilliant film.
It has a score that's kind of like saying that it reminded me of a lot of the sort of 70s science fiction films.
It reminded me of Sunshine's score.
Not the parts of it like that, but the weird blips and sound is kind of things like, Logan's Run and Westworld, those kind of things. That kind of it reminded me at moments of that. The bit I'm going to guess at, without spoiling anything, is to do with a pair of doors closing, I'm guessing.
It's to do with Ava's character.
Okay. Here's the thing with my take on it. I like it. I like the film. I think that it's very well directed, especially for a first-time director from Alex Garland. I do think, though, that it suffers in the writing at parts of it. I think there's parts where it does something, and there's a whole thing of that you have a character does something because of the fact that the story needs it to happen in order to go forward, not because the character would do that in that situation. That's where I had problems with it, and that's where I struggled at some parts with it, because there's elements and things that happen, in particular with the Oscar Isaac's character, that it's just sort of taken to be his eccentricities, but for me, I found them to be a little bit sort of too convenient at times. I thought that it was very well written for the character of Ava. I thought that was the whole thing, that they focused on that character extremely well. I just wish they'd focused on the other characters, because there are largely just three characters in this. There aren't just three characters, but there are basically three main characters in the film. And I wish that the other two had been focused on as much as they were focused on and developed as Ava was. I'm going
to butt in slightly. I don't agree with you on that point. Because I felt like if you look at Caleb's character right at the start of the film, when he learns that he's won the lottery and how happy people are at the place that he works, he's very secluded. He very keeps himself to himself. When he actually meets Oscar Isaac's character Nathan for the first time, he's boxing, and so he's doing like weight training to alleviate all the alcohol that he drank the night before, and he's still very keeping himself in his shell. It's him who has to make drastic decisions throughout the film, whether he is getting manipulated by Ava's character, but he still has to make those choices for himself. And also, with Nathan's one, you discover what kind of person he is and how living on his own, and the stuff that you do discover in the film, how much that's probably changed his psyche. If you look at it's hard to actually, there is something I could say now, but it would give away a lot of the film, but it's hard to actually fully explain his character, because some of the stuff in the film, it is like spoilers, very big spoilers.
Yeah, well, that's why I can't say more what it is, but I don't have a problem with his character at the start. It's his character towards the end that I struggle with. But as I say, more in particular, it's Oscar Isaac's character, because I love Oscar Isaac as an actor. I still haven't seen the other film that he's in this week, which you're reviewing in a little while as well, The Most Violent Year. But I had issues with his character, especially throughout it, whereas Donald Gleason's character, I struggled with a lot more towards the end, just because of the behaviour and such. And as I said, it seemed more he was serving the story than his character doing what he felt was necessary. That's the issue that I have with it. And I agree that the ending, I think, as well, is a problem with Garland writing but not directing. As I say, I think he's brilliantly directed it. I liked it, I enjoyed it, but the thing is, I couldn't help but come out of the film feeling that was good, but I was disappointed.
And I came out the film, and I actually thought I got what I wanted.
I didn't. I just found myself at the end of it sort of feeling very sort of disconnected in that I wanted more from it. And I mean, it made me thinking back to Transcendence, and it definitely is far better film on the whole thing of AI and everything than Transcendence is. And definitely is a lot more into the whole the ethics of it and the whole questioning of it and such, and that thing it delves into that more. Certainly it does what it sets out to do, but it just, in a similar way that I love Sunshine, I love that film, but it has its problems. This has the same sort of problems with it as well.
I think we should move on.
Okay, so The Gambler, which is directed by Rupert Wyatt. It is a remake of the 1974 film, which was, I think it was James Toback that was involved with that. I'm not sure if he directed it or just wrote it. This one features Mark Whalberg playing the main character, Jim Bennett, who is a professor at a college or university. He is an English professor and teaches a class while his sort of evening thing, what he does in his spare time, is he gambles. And as we're introduced to him at the very start of the film, he goes into a place with $10,000, puts it down on a place, doubles it to 20, doubles it to 40, puts it up to 80, and then ends up throwing it all away in one bet. We find out that then he owes money to other people already, as well as someone else who then borrows more money off of. Ultimately coming to a point where he owes money to a couple of people in a total sum of around about $240,000. Finding that he's in a bit of a trouble with this situation, not able to get himself out of that, he decides to go and ask his mother for it, who turns him down. So he ends up having to go and speak to another loan shark, played by John Goodman. Here's a clip.
You drink? I don't remember if you drink. Of course, there's drink and drink. I drink, but I haven't been drunk since Reagan was president. I got a DUI, and in jail, I actually fell down and my pants. You don't need to do that twice. I tell you this so you'll know everybody's been there.
Everybody's been there.
Once. If you're there twice, I can't help you. Which leads me to ask, are you pulling this just now or forever?
What's the difference?
I need to know if you got the brains to walk when it's time to walk. I've seen you be $500,000 up.
I've been up $2.5 million.
You still owe large 2 places you shouldn't. Why do you want door number 3?
How else do I get out?
If I give you this money and you don't pay me back, there are no rules. Do you understand the gravity of your situation?
I understand.
As well as all this going on at the time, there is one of his students, played by Brie Larson, who he then ends up getting into a relationship with, and you can kind of guess where it goes from there, because the last half of the film is largely predictable, has its moments where you kind of go, yeah, well, I wasn't entirely sure that was where it was going, but I had the thought. And here's the thing with the film. It's really, honestly, one of these films that you see it and you go, well, that's 2 hours that I kind of want back, but I won't get them. If I'd seen it on DVD, I would have been happier. But it's a film that's just depressing, it's uninteresting. Mark Whalberg's character you don't really care about. He's not likeable. You really wouldn't be worried about if at certain points there's moments where he's basically being held up by someone and they're threatening to kill him, and because he's not paying the money, and he's not worried. He's not worried. He doesn't have any fear of dying, and that's a problem because you don't care about him either, so you don't worry that he's going to end up getting killed or something happen to him. You're kind of sitting there waiting for him, and you kind of, you literally had a thought at one point. I thought, if your character was hit by a bus right now, I'd probably get interested because, something happened. And that's a problem. It's ultimately not bad, but just boring because of the fact of it keeps setting up these things. There's going to be a gamble thing. It's going to get better. It's going to be exciting. The gambling scenes are boring. There's the thing of then he's going to get attacked and things are going to happen, and it doesn't. There's a moment where the music all the way through it as well is really annoying because it has these weird choices of really quiet, almost jazz-like music. Talking about jazz with the films earlier, it has this weird kind of soft music through it. And then at one point when the guys turn up in cars looking for him to find him, it kicks into high gear and there's action-y kind of music playing, and you're kind of going, what, is something going to happen now? And then nothing happens. And you have this whole thing as well, then it goes on towards the end, and then you kind of have something happen, but you're kind of like, well, was that meant to be something? It kind of it's very ambiguously filmed, and then you have music playing that really just is like someone went, okay, you know what we're doing? We're going to end it like an MTV music video. No.
I hear it when that happens.
No. Don't end it like that. End it with some dialogue. End it with something happening. Don't end it with a character basically running along the streets in slow motion with music playing and nothing else. The
kind of thing that you would normally see on like a 30-minute comedy program on a TV channel or something, where it's just the person is just jumping up in the air and then getting your music, or a parody that you would normally see on Family Guy.
Yeah, exactly, something like that. And you kind of you're there sitting going, I should be feeling, I should be feeling anything for this character. I should be feeling happy for them. I should be feeling hatred because I should be feeling, something for them. I literally sat there and I was like, you know what? I could be looking at a tub of lard and I'd be happier.
Sounds like you would be. It sounds like I'm going to be happier when looking. I think when I review it on Blu-ray and DVD, I'll have a tub of lard beside me, and then I'll have the film playing. And then when I get to them moments, I look at the tub of lard and see if I'm happier with the tub of lard or the TV.
Actually, saying that, a tub of lard probably would have given a better performance than Mark Whalberg in this as well.
It's another. He seems to be another one of those actors who's falling down the rabbit hole of mediocrity with Liam Neeson.
And the thing is, I don't entirely think it's down to him. I think it is partly the writing, but also he's just wrong for the role.
That seems to be the case with a lot of films that he starred in as of late. Transformers, Pain and Gain. He just seems to be wrong for the role. It doesn't seem to be. He needs to go back to his Boogie Nights days, or even Fear, because Fear is a very strange film.
Fear is very good. Yeah, Fear is a very good film.
So he needs to do something like that.
I sound really negative against Mark Whalberg. I don't dislike him. I think he can be a very good actor.
Yeah, he can.
Just not in this.
Yeah, not in these kind of roles.
Not in these conditions, no.
Yeah. Next up is A Most Violent Year. It's directed by Jesse Chandler, who did Margin Call, one of our favourite films of 2012, wasn't it, when that came out?
Yes, and then followed it up with, I don't think you've seen it, but with All Is Lost, which is a very, very good film.
I really want to see that one, but Margin Call surprised us. Because we never expected the film to even make our top 10. But considering that what it was about the just crash, the ultimate crash, everything going into turmoil regarding money. And it sounds like a boring subject to write about and direct about. And however, Jesse Chandler managed to bring it alive with so much nuance that it was just brilliant.
I know this isn't about it, but I want to say I'd love to see him because of the way he can do things that are unusual, make them interesting and exciting. I'd love to see him do a political thriller because he would just knock it out of the park. Like
the mundane subjects, the subjects which a lot of people might find really boring, I think he can bring a bit of a spark to it. Well, and this film is set, it stars Oscar Isaac, so the second film of the week that we're reviewing of his, and it's set in New York City during 1981. Now, if you know what happened in New York City during that time, it was probably one of their most violent years in their history. It was just down to any kind of business was always getting attacked, no matter how big or small your business was. You always had hitmen out at you saying that, if you give a certain amount of money, we'll protect you. So all these rings going around battling against each other for supremacy. And it centres around Isaac's character, who plays Abel Morales, who's got a family, who's got an oil business, one of the biggest oil businesses in New York City, as a matter of fact. However, his trucks are always constantly being hijacked by this unknown group of people. There's a scene which involves one of his drivers who gets badly beaten on the highway, and nobody stops to help him. And he just gets dragged out of the van that he's in when it's stuck in traffic. He just gets beaten badly. The van gets took away, and he's still left there, and cars are just driving past him. And so Morales decides to try and figure out what's going on with the help of his wife, who's played by Jessica Chastain. However, it seems to be that he's getting investigated because supposedly he's doing some underhanded deals by a police officer who's played by David Oyelowo, who's appeared in the new film Selma, which is out in a couple of weeks' time. Here's a clip which involves Chastain's character along with the investigation that's happening.
This is probably one you're going to regret.
Excuse me?
My husband's an honorable man. We're not who you think we are.
I think I know your father.
Good for you. My husband is not my father. Not even close. So if I were you, I would start treating us with a little more respect, or I guarantee he will make it his mission in life to ruin you. This was very disrespectful.
So the film itself is just about Morales trying to investigate what's going on while he is also being investigated himself, and how it's affecting him, how much a lot of people who he thinks is on his side sort of like turn against him. That's the crux of the film. It's sort of like, it feels a little bit like a gangster movie, but a very like drama gangster movie without all of these shootouts and the things that you normally expect in that. And I think Chanda has done the job again, like he did with Margin Call. He made money interesting. He's made this kind of family low-key drama interesting because it's down to the acting first off. Oscar Isaacs and Jessica Chastain, one brilliant actor, one brilliant actress. We've sort of like been on the side of Jessica Chastain throughout her career because she is a fantastic actress. And you heard in the clip there what kind of strong character she is. And it's down to them, but it's also down to how J.C. Chandor directs a film. He keeps the camera on characters long enough for you to learn a lot about them, but also learn about the story without it feeling boring and without it feeling mundane. He has a brilliant way of actually using shots properly instead of trying to transition between one shot to another by maybe shooting a plant and it have nothing to do with the film. He uses the space up properly, and so he's able to meld together the story where it keeps going at a pace where you're constantly interested. You constantly want to find out what's actually happening with this oil business. Who are the people who were sort of like trying to destroy his business? The character who gets beaten up on the highway, he could have just been left there as one superfluous character and we learn nothing more about him. However, he's properly interleaved into the story so much so that it has a very emotional impact near to the end of the film. And so it's just, the whole film itself is very interesting. It's brilliantly acted. It's got a nice music score to it. It's never overly ambitious. And it's J.C. Chandor's done it again, in my opinion.
I really want to see this, and I just didn't have time to watch all the films that were out this week. And as you'll hear, possibly coming up soon, I may have wished to have seen this instead of the others. But I really do want to see this because of the fact that Margin Call and All Is Lost are great films. Margin Call in particular was a great film, and J.C. Chandor just seems to have... He's one of these directors who has got a certain style and a skill that's required for making not only a decent film but an enjoyable good film, especially on, as you said, their subjects that are not necessarily going to be interesting, yet he can make them interesting by what he does. It's very good.
I'm hoping when you see it you think it's a 3 for 3 for him, because I've only seen 2 of his films, and so you've only seen 2 of his films, so that's 2 out of 2 for you. And for me, the 2 films that I have seen from J.C. Chandor is 2 out of 2, because both Margin Call and this are very well made films. And so I'm hoping, because I'll need to see All Is Lost. It's on multiple streaming places anyway, so it's not a very long film from what I know.
Well, it's an hour, and I think it's longer than an hour and a half. But yeah, it's
still not a long film considering the kind. When I went to the cinema to see Ex Machina, the film with the shortest running time was just below 2 hours, and my cinema is a 12-screen cinema, so it was showing 12 films, and every other film was over the 2-hour mark. Taken 3 is on more than 2 hours, so that shows you that
I don't think it is actually.
It's on for just over 2 hours, so it's unbelievably long and stupid. But I'm hoping that you will really like this, and I want you to see this film by next week, so because it'll be in the top 10, even if it's in the bottom half of the top 10, just so you can comment on the film.
I do want to see it. I will try, but I have a very busy week ahead of me, including a film tomorrow night, which is why we're doing the show on Sunday night. But I'll go on to Mortdecai, which is the movie directed by David Coe. It is based on the series of novels by Coel Bonfiglioli. I'm not sure that's right, but this one is based on one in particular titled "Don't Wave That Thing at Me," or "Don't Put That Thing in Me," or something like that. It's basically starring Johnny Depp as Mortdecai, and the best way I can describe this is, Inspector Clouseau from the Pink Panther films and Peter Sellers. Well, that's what Mortdecai is, but he's British, and he's a bit of a buffoon. He is an aristocrat. He's married to a woman played by Gwyneth Paltrow, who the two of them are very sort of wealthy and happy, except the fact that they're currently in debt to the sum of around about £8 million to the government for taxes. They have no other money. They're having to look at selling off things such as his Rolls Royce and their paintings in the house and the big sort of mansion that they live in. He has a manservant by the name of Jock, played by Paul Bettany, who is kind of his Cato, if you will, who's a guy who anytime there's a problem, a fight or anything like that, then he ends up stepping in and being the one to sort of he is kind of his servant, his protector, his butler. He does all this stuff for him, yet also at the same time is kind of he has this issue of, I'll get into it later, but he has this issue that he kind of has this weird sex addiction, and this whole thing of all about Mortdecai is called in by MI5 agent Martland, played by Ewan McGregor, because of a stolen painting, and whether or not there may be something else to do with this painting being stolen and disappearing. Do you think maybe? Well, there possibly is, and that's what happens is they end up getting sent around different places, including America, where Mortdecai has never been to before, and he checks into this hotel which it doesn't quite sort of fit in with his style. Here's a clip.
I am Mortdecai, Lord of Silverdale. I should like to request a bucket of ice, do not disturb sign, and a bulldozer.
Checking in?
Yeah, we're checking in.
I suspect that I may need to redecorate.
Room 326 overlooks the pool.
So all I must do is show up, and I'm presented with a credit card. No wonder your country's in financial ruin.
Do you need help with your bags?
No, I do not need help with my bags. I have a bloody manservant.
So, here's the thing with Mortdecai. It's Johnny Depp.
It's brilliant, isn't it? It's brilliant.
It's Johnny Depp doing weird Johnny Depp as he does, but it's just that it's bad, weird Johnny Depp. And it's not that he's the bad thing about it. The film is bad. The film is bad. It's awful. It has scenes of dialogue that are quite terrible and really, really horrible. It's pretending to be funny and trying to be funny and referencing loads of other films. In particular, the opening scene references the opening kind of meeting at the Shanghai restaurant in Temple of Doom, Indiana Jones and Temple of Doom. And it kind of has this whole thing of that you've got Paul Bettany's character Jock, as you said during the clip we were talking there, whose full character's name is Jock Strap, I kid you not, is a guy who is basically, did you ever see that one Stormbreaker, that awful film Stormbreaker, and the villain kind of bad guy that was played by Andy Serkis? Okay, he's basically playing a good guy version of that.
Okay.
It's weird. I mean, he has more dialogue because he hasn't got his tongue cut out, but it's weird. He's got like a scar on his face.
You wish he did.
He's always in fights, and he's fighting when he helps out and stuff, and he's always getting injured by Mortdecai mostly in attempt at humour, which isn't funny except for one of them times that happens. And he's the character of Mortdecai is such a bumbling buffoon. You kind of wonder, you know, if it wasn't for Paul Bettany's character, how he managed to survive being a kid and how long he had him as sort of a manservant and all. You have this just scenes of it that are just genuinely cringe-inducing. And the thing is, as well, it reminded me in particular of Dark Shadows, linking with Johnny Depp, because it has loads of sexual references in it which are just inappropriate for a 12. I found moments that I was going, oh really? And I just, you know, leave them out, especially with the whole thing of, you have Paul Bettany's character who's basically a sex addict, because it's even made a reference by Mortdecai in a voiceover at the start, talking about the fact that he's, you know, he's a great butler, but he has this proclivity for being out and having sexual escapades, and often in situations where there's jokes made about it, because you know they go to do a meeting with a farmer, and Mortdecai's meeting with a farmer, and then also when they're leaving, the farmer's shooting at them because the farmer's daughter's there. And what do you think Paul Bettany's character's been up to in the meantime while Mortdecai's been talking with the farmer? That's not the only one. There's loads of other jokes. There's this whole thing all the way through it as well of Mortdecai has grown this obviously horrible, disgusting looking moustache. If you've seen the trailer, you know what I'm talking about. And it's even a joke in the trailer that Gwyneth Paltrow's character can't stand to kiss him because of it. And he's always going, you know, oh, I love this, it's great. And every time there's someone else there with a moustache, he's looking at them, smiling like, oh, look, that's a good one. You know, I feel as if I'm right. And you just kind of go, stop it, just stop it. You're just horrible. Don't bother. And it's the thing as well that, in particular as well, it kind of, it's not racist, but it's the whole American view of the British and how the British talk. That he's doing this old kind of 60s style voice of the English sort of, you know, oh yes, I speak very much like this, and I'm very clear, and just horrible. It's awful. It did get a few giggles from the audience when I saw it, but it was easily 20 minutes into the film before it started to get the first snicker of one. It's just awful. It's horrible. There's no interest in it at all. You don't like the characters, any of them. There's this whole weird thing as well that Ewan McGregor's character, even knowingly to Mortdecai, is in love with his wife, with Gwyneth Paltrow's character, and it's just kind of, you're just kind of like, you know, what's going on here? Is this character supposed to be a complete and utter buffoon, or is he supposed to be really intelligent and playing buffoon, or is it just that the writers don't know and the directors don't know and Johnny Depp doesn't know? I think it's the last one.
I'm just going to leave it there, to be honest. I was tempted.
Horrible.
I was tempted to go and see the film just to see how bad it really is.
Well, I'm telling you this now. You will have to see it by the end of the year, because I'm pretty sure it's going to be in my worst 10 films of the year. Already, we're in January. I've got my number one film, and not necessarily my number one worst film, but this will be in the top 10 of my worst films of the year.
Yeah, I'll be seeing it by then because it'll be out on Blu Ray and DVD by then, but I'm not looking forward to it.
I'm looking forward to your review of it when you do.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to probably deafening a lot of people again, as I normally do.
Yeah. Well, that's it for this week's cinema releases. We're going to take a quick break, stick around, and we're back with this week's DVD and Blu Ray releases. So we'll be back in just a moment.
From page to screen.
So they have 9 times out of 10 they have to send it back to you unopened or just throw it in the garbage can.
Things don't always look exactly as we envision our life to look, but sometimes it works out and turns out even better.
Gregor Fisher, his bacon number is 2 because he was appeared with January Jones in Love Actually, and January Jones and Kevin Bacon appeared in X-Men First Class together.
I've got to say, the very Harold and Kumar 3D Christmas, now that just makes me want to rush out.
It's about the acting, about the writing. That's really what theatre is for me.
Probably had more names than Prince or whatever. Never mind, there's a joke for the oldies. Everybody's like, who's Prince? Who's he? I'd just like to see Mr. Freeze hiring his bad guys going, right, okay, so you're a psycho, right, can you ice skate? Head over to iTunes, Spreaker and Stitcher and put in the search box From Page to Screen.
Welcome back to this week's show. We're into the home release section of the show. We are looking at these films this week.
With Denzel Washington in the big budget film of The Equalizer. We have an animated film from Urban Animation with The Box Trolls. We have... Is it Urban Animation?
Nope.
No, it's not Animation. Who is it that did it? It's Catfire, isn't it?
Something like that.
Yeah.
It's Leica.
Leica, that's it, yes, sorry. We have British comedy in What We Did on a Holiday. We have an American film about Draft Day, the American football weird thing. We'll get to that later.
I think it's got something to do with American football.
Yeah, and Kevin Costner. And we have a double bill of horror at the end of the show with Honeymoon and Torment.
Yeah, and on top of that we have our TV movies of the week, and as usual, kick things off with the Blu-ray and DVD top 10. So at number 10, it's still there. It will never leave. It's still frozen.
Yeah, it's just go.
It's still frozen. And number 9, Taken 2. Why?
Yeah, I mean, if anything, Taken. Put Taken in the top 10. Don't put Taken 2 in the top 10. Taken 1 is brilliant. Well, not brilliant, but Taken 1's really good. Taken 2, yeah, not. It's awful. Horrible.
Yeah,
it's worse than Taken 3 as far as I'm concerned. I know you think Taken 3 is worse, but I think Taken 3 actually showed some skill.
No, I think Taken 2 is the worst. Easily the worst film. In order, from best to worst, it's 1, 3, 2.
Yeah,
Taken 2 is really god awful. And And number 8 is The Wolf of Wall Street, still there.
Yeah, good. Bit too long, but I enjoyed it. And I was talking about this the other day. It's got a moment that everyone is hysterically funny about. If they've seen it, they know it. The scene of getting into the car is just, it will be one of those moments that will stand out forever.
And it's on YouTube, so watch it there. And number 7 is The Grand Budapest Hotel,
which I loved. I think it's a brilliant film. I'm glad it's got nomination for Oscars. I don't think it's in the same class as a lot of the films that it's been put with, so I think it's actually going to lose out because of that. But I do love it, and I've watched it numerous times and laughed all the way through it. I think it's... I still don't think quite necessarily it is Wes Anderson's best film. I think it's his best live-action one, but his best film for me is Fantastic Mr. Fox.
And number 6 is Before I Go to Sleep,
which I really enjoyed. I thought it was nicely put together. I think it doesn't overstay its welcome because it's only just an hour and a half long, or just about there. And I thought it was great with the performance. It showed Nicole Kidman still has got it. She's a great actress, and it's based around her performance, but is helped along with a little bit of performance from Colin Firth, and an even smaller little performance from Mark Strong, but all kind of essential and work to make it a good, solid 90-minute thriller.
And number 5, the first new entry of the week goes to A Most Wanted Man,
which is a film that, of all the films that have been the last few Philip Seymour Hoffman films, I think this is the one that he stands out for the best in it, because he's so dishevelled, such a mess in this film, but a great performance. And really, for such a well, not dirty character, but such an atypical character, he's so brilliant to watch, and it's such great fun. It's one of these things as well. It's a thriller without the action. It doesn't have action sequences. It is a kind of a Cold War spy thriller sort of thing. It's not about the Cold War, but it's in that kind of vein. It's about terrorism and anti-terrorism, and he's brilliant in it. If you haven't seen it and you want to see a good Philip Seymour Hoffman film, you need to see this.
At number 4, the second new entry of the week goes to Boyhood,
which I liked, but not so much as you did. I think
I loved
it. I think my issue with it is that it is a gimmicky film, but that kind of saying that is taking away from the fact that it is a 12-year project, and it is a amazing piece of work. It's a great drama. The thing as well is that Richard Linklater not only does a great job of assembling that for over the 12 years and putting it together and coming out with this thing that is really good at the end, but even without that, the scenes that are in it that aren't spread over the 12 years, just the scenes that are normal, have this realism to them, and the characters feel real, and the way they're talking to each other, and just the conversations they have. And in a lot of other films that would fall short, it would be boring. Here it's not.
I think it's brilliantly acted by Ella Coltrane, who's in the film from the age of 8 up to the age of 18.
Yeah, and consistently as well.
Yeah, so it's brilliantly done from him. You actually see his full childhood leading into him being a teenager, getting ready to go into being classed as a man. Also showing Patricia Arquette and Ethan Hawke. They've obviously done different films during those time. Obviously, Ella Coltrane had been in school. And so it's just seeing them evolve throughout the years, how much they change. If you look at Ethan Hawke at the start of the film, how much he changes during the entirety of the movie. And it's a brave thing for actors to do that, to stick with a film throughout their career. Practically, it is 12 years of their career.
Should also mention as well that the sister played by, I forgot her name, but Richard Linklater's daughter plays the sister.
Laurie Lee Linklater.
Yeah, Laurie, that's it. She's in it as well and does a good job too of playing sister. Even though she's not the main character, she still gets quite a bit of screen time because there's a lot of sort of shared time between them.
Yeah, number 3 is Charlotte's 3-minute belly blitz.
Yeah, the less said about this, we won't bother. So let's go.
Number 2 is Lucy.
Which is, I think, actually I'm going to say it's Luc Besson's Sunshine. Would you kind of agree with that?
No.
Yes? No? No? I think it is. It's a film that tries to be a lot more sort of talky about science and explaining that, and a lot more sort of intelligent than it actually is. I think that's where it fails, but I think that it's a film that is enjoyable, but you come out of it at the end going, well, that kind of didn't make sense. But that's okay. It doesn't entirely have to, but it's just the thing of that it could have been a lot better. It could have been a lot worse, but it's not. It's Luc Besson directing again instead of just writing films and then passing them off to people like McGee. But he can still do a better job than this.
Now, see, with Sunshine, I believe that we can create a huge, massive nuclear bomb to reawaken the sun. In Lucy, I don't believe we can create a drug that will make us unlock 100% of our brain and us melding ourselves to the earth. I just don't believe that. I have more belief in Sunshine than in Lucy. And at number 1 is a new entry for, it surprised me when I was writing down the top 10, A Walk Among the Tombstones.
Yeah, Liam Neeson in the film, which I liked more than you did. You really didn't like it at all, but I enjoyed it. I like it for it being a film that the director has not done much before, and it shows very rough around the edges with it. But I like there was something that he brought to it, which for me meant it wasn't a boring film. It wasn't a bad film. It wasn't a great film. It has this kind of a B movie, this kind of the thing you'd watch on TV on like a late Friday night showing that's when there's not a lot on. But I didn't have a problem with it. I thought Liam Neeson was perfectly fine in it. I thought Dan Stevens was perfectly fine in it, although a little darker than he normally is. And I was okay with it. As I say, not brilliant, but not terrible as a lot of people have made it out to be, as far as I'm concerned.
Like me, I was bored throughout the film. Right, first review on the home release section is The Equalizer. It's directed by Antoine Fuqua and it stars Denzel Washington in the lead role of Robert McCall. In the film itself, he's sort of like got a checkered past, but you never fully discover what it is, even though it sort of unravels itself in the character that he plays throughout the film. But he's just a person who wants to keep himself to himself, and that's fully shown in the apartment that he lives in. It's very sparse. It's got just the amenities that he needs to live his life out, and that's how he wants to live his life out. It's sort of like keep himself to himself of sorts. He works in a sort of B&Q-esque kind of shop. Dropping a shop name there. There are other big, huge, massive appliance shops available, but it's a place that sells lots of different things, ranging from hammers up to flooring and things like that. He works in a place like that, and every night, very early on in the morning, he goes off to this coffee shop to have a coffee and to read a book, going through 100 books that you should read because you learn about a thing that happened with his wife and the fact that he lost his wife, and she was reading through that. So he does that every night, and coming into the coffee shop every night is a character who's played by Chloe Grace Moretz, who plays Terry. She's sort of like, she's had to go down a path which you wouldn't want a girl like her age to go down. She has to sell her body, and she's sort of like, her pimps are Russian. Very stereotypical in that case. And there is an incident that happens where she does get beaten up by the people who say that she's got to go out and sell her body so they can get money. And so this is where you start to see his true character come out, Robert McCall's true character come out, because he decides to go and hunt these people down. They are Russian mafias in a way. And he picks them off, one by one, in sort of like brilliant fashion, very snapping judgment, sticking a glass tumbler in one of the person's eyes. In a sort of like really graphic fashion. And so throughout the film itself, you discover one of these Russian head guys has been sent over to try and track down who's doing that. And here's a clip where the guy is trying to sort of like track McCall down.
Mr. McCall. Yeah. Sorry to bother you. We're looking into a homicide that occurred 2 weeks ago. 5 dead. Russian restaurant.
Oh, yeah, I heard about it on TV. I happened to be there that night.
Oh, you were?
Yeah. You wouldn't be here if I wasn't.
That's right. We're just checking to see if any of the patrons remembered anything suspicious that night.
Not that I recall.
May I ask why you dined at that particular restaurant?
Like Borowski.
You didn't stay long?
I didn't check my watch.
I see. Wow. Thanks for your cooperation.
Very welcome.
I'll be in touch.
Don't you want to leave me your card, officer? In case I remember anything? That's what you policemen usually do, right?
Must have given them all out.
How'd you find me? I paid cash. We didn't have a reservation. How'd you find me?
Well, that's what we do, Mr. McCall.
We who?
Find people we need to find.
We who?
And so the whole film is solely about revenge. And now for the first 15 minutes of the movie, it's not bad. It goes along at a decent little pace. You're thinking there might be something different about this character, about Robert McCall. It might have you want to find out what his dark checkered past is like, and it's slightly interesting. Chloe Grace Moretz plays a decent character in Terry, and so you were hoping that that's the way the film goes down. The second it gets to the scene when McCall has gone to the Russian mafia restaurant place and he dispatches them one by one in stupidly over-the-top cartoony fashion, that's when the movie completely lost me. And it gets more stupider after that. You've got the very over-the-top vaudevillian kind of twirling mustache bad guy who's Russian, obviously, because that's supposedly the most evil nation, either Russian or Korean, in the world, and so we'll make it very stereotypical from that point of view. Him looking really menacing and going, yeah, I'm going to kill you, and then doesn't do anything, and then does a menacing look on his face, and then takes him out thinking that he's like all that. And then the violence is just very, like I said, very cartoony. It's very much like an Itchy and Scratchy cartoon, or Tom and Jerry, the kind of thing that easily gets away in a PG, but Antoine Fuqua thinks that because I'm making it hyper-violence, I'm putting it in a gritty setting, it's making the film gritty. You're making the film silly. That's what you're doing. You just feel like you want to laugh rather than feel on your edge. That's the whole thing about the film. It's more of a comedy than it is of a thriller. And that's the thing you don't want the thriller to be. You want the thriller to be gripping. You want the thriller to be tense. You want to be on the edge of your seat. You want to feel for the characters. You want to follow Robert McCall's character. You want to go, yes, this is what his past is like. Oh, he's got a really interesting past. He's just boring, to be honest. And the whole film is boring and funny rather than thrilling.
I'm just going to go over what I said before, because I have big issues with the fact that it's The Equalizer, which is a TV show that I knew from when I was younger. Growing up, I saw the original show. Maybe people won't even have heard of it. The one with Edward Woodward in the 90s. And he played this guy who was an ex kind of a CIA operative or some kind. You didn't know exactly, but you knew he was something to do with that. And they wanted him back, but he had enough. So he decided he was going to go out and put his skills to use helping people. That's not what this is. This is just a typical dumb action film with stupid characters, even a stupid main character that has no connection to the Equalizer apart from being called Robert McCall. He does seem to have some weird connection with the past to do with literally cameo performances by Melissa Leo and Bill Pullman that turn up at one point for 5 minutes in a 2.5 hour film. And the thing as well is that they think, oh, he's a weird guy, we need to make him interesting, let's give him these weird OCD qualities. So he's got problems that he's having to, everything he does, he counts out the seconds and works it out and everything. And then you have this whole thing of he goes around and he's up against these guys and he kind of goes, oh well, here's this. If you don't, take the offer, then fair enough, I'll have to do something else. And they threaten him, he threatens them, they attack him, he kills them, and then he kills them, and then he kills them, and then he kills them. And then he kills them. They turned him into a frigging serial killer. Dexter had less blood on his hands than this. It's a joke. It's insulting to call it The Equalizer and to call the character Robert McCall. It actually makes me angry, just the fact that they wasted this. It could have been a great film. Could have been a great start of a franchise. Instead, they flushed it down the toilet.
It's like a knock-knock joke where it just goes knock-knock, who's there, and he just puts a knife in somebody's eye. Instead of doing the punchline is death in a stupid fashion. The tumbler is just what I explained when I was reviewing the film. It's just sort of like barely the tip of the iceberg of the silliness of the film. It's slapstick. It's very slapstick.
It's awful. Okay, The Box Trolls, which is directed by Graham Annabelle and Anthony Stachy. Let's call the whole thing off. It's a animated film, stop motion animation, which is centering around this small town where people live there by day, and but at night everything's closed up. They're all sort of afraid because at night is when the trolls come out of the sewers, or rather the box trolls as they are, all wearing boxes of the sort of some kind for their clothing, but also for protection, because when they are spotted they then sort of recoil back inside of their boxes and just appear to be a box on the street. It's a film which focuses on the main character of Eggs, which is a young boy who is found by the Box Trolls and raised as one of their own. Some years later, he meets a character played by Elle Fanning. He meets Winnie, who is sort of the daughter of the town mayor. She's kind of curious and everything about him. Finds out that he is actually in sort of with all the Box Trolls, which she believes are sort of horrible monster creatures, and she ends up following him down into the sewers, into the sort of the Box Trolls' lair, where she encounters them and encounters Eggs and tries to explain to him that he's not actually a troll. Here's a clip.
What's going on? Why aren't they ripping out our eyeballs and eating our faces? And where are the rivers of blood and mountains of bones? I was promised mountains of bones!
I told you we don't eat people.
Why do you keep saying we? You're not one of them. You're a boy.
No, I'm not. I'm a box troll. Eggs, the box troll.
Oh, really? Then let's see you fit in your box.
I can't right now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm long-boned.
And you don't talk like them.
I have a speech impediment.
Your ears aren't pointy.
I slept on them funny.
Oh, for goodness sake. Give me your hand. I don't bite.
Hey.
Huh. Ooh. See? You're not like them. You're one of us. You're a boy, Eggs.
So, in the town as well, there's this whole thing going on of this character, Archibald Snatcher, who wants to be sort of in charge of the mayor and wants to get in with this sort of select group of people who get together and eat cheese, only he has this kind of rather bad sort of reaction when he eats cheese.
Me? I'm allergic to cheese, so exactly like him.
It's voiced by Ben Kingsley. Here's the thing with Box Trolls, it is fantastic. It's a great classic style animation. It is a stop motion, but there's this whole thing of that there's depth to it. The characters are brilliant. The trolls in particular are just funny because there's all these little things that they're doing in the background and such. They have this weirdness to them, like Minions in Despicable Me series, where there's always something going on with them. They're not just standing there looking around going, oh, okay, waiting for my part. They're always, some life to them. I enjoyed it. I really did enjoy it. I still have an issue with, I think Elle Fanning's voice just doesn't work for me in the character. But I really like everything else, and Isaac Hempstead Wright, who is kind of just breaking out in voicing Eggs, is great in his voice part. I don't have any problem with him. I just had this problem with Elle Fanning's part, where it feels kind of like she's just not there in it, which I just had an issue with. But the animation's great. It's fun. It has moments that are genuinely funny. It has moments that are a little bit grotesque in detail for being a PG. But it's a fun and enjoyable and classic animated film.
Yeah, from the company that did movies like Coraline, Paranorman, stuff like that. I was expecting.
Leica?
Yeah, Leica. They are a company that's hit it out the park with their animation because they know how to do this stop motion. There's a fantastic bit at the end of the film where you see one of the scenes being created in real time, but obviously fast forward a little bit. And it's lovely to see that kind of stuff added onto the film in the cinema. You'll get it obviously in extras when you buy the Blu-ray and DVD, but adding that little extra bit at the end of the film in the cinema rather than seeing outtakes, it's just lovely on an animation film to see that little extra bit, just seeing how a scene is created. And I love that, and it just epitomizes what the creators of the film were going for. It's a fun film, it's funny, it's dark. Like all of their other films, there is humor in all of their films. There is darkness in all their films, especially I think Coraline. And Coraline's their first film that they did was a huge, massive platform to start off on.
Coraline is a horror film for kids, really.
It is a horror film, just like I think all of their films are horror films for kids. And they are brave for doing that. A lot of companies will not take the leap of creating films like that. And I just love for what has done, and Box Trolls is the epitome of that. It's just a really entertaining film for everybody. Right there, next up, a different swerve here in what we did on our holiday. It's a comedy drama, which is written and directed by Andy Hamilton and Guy Jenkins, who did the TV program Outnumbered. And it stars Rosamund Pike and David Tennant. They play sort of a couple. They were once married, but you discover throughout the film. You actually, right at the start of the film, they are arguing. They've got a couple of kids, 3 kids, and they are always constantly arguing, even when it comes down to just some keys. When he has to go across the road because she's lost her keys and he has to get the spare keys from a neighbour, and the neighbour is reluctant to actually give him the keys even. And on the trip up to Scotland, because they're going to visit David Tennant's father, who's played by Billy Connolly in the film, because of his 75th birthday, and so they're on a trip up to there. They decide to, well, he decides to, anyway, Doug decides to make the trip just one big massive trip rather than taking a break in between and then going up the next year. And so they argue there, and they argue even at a diner when they're trying to say to the kids, this is the best way to go about things when we get there. Here's a clip.
Last time, Lottie, no one's going to ask you if Mum and me are living in the same house.
Is there anything else you've not told me?
No. Why are you writing that down?
So you can't say you didn't say it.
Okay, kids, just to remind... Mickey, stop playing chip Jenga. Just to remind everyone, what we're saying is, when we get to Scotland, nobody is to tell anyone that Mum and me are living in different houses, okay?
Can we tell them that you accidentally walked in while the headmistress was doing a poo?
It's
Can
not
we
really...
tell them about tadpoles turning into frogs?
Absolutely, I think that'd be an excellent
That's
conversation.
A much better topic of conversation. So, as long as we're all agreed that when we get there, none of us mention anything about this, okay?
I wasn't going to mention it anyway. It's boring.
Exactly, boring.
It's lying.
It's not lying. It's not mentioning something.
What if someone asked me, are your mum and dad getting divorced?
Lottie, you're visiting your granddad. You're not going on the Jeremy Kyle show.
And so when they finally get up to Scotland, to the party, which is to the house itself, which is owned by Doug's brother, who's played by Ben Miller, you can definitely see where the arguments come from, because they are both constantly at each other's throats, and the children just maybe want to see their grandfather. And there is one specific scene which involves them going off to the beach, but again, there's just arguments saying, oh, we're not doing that. However, that's when the film completely changes, and that's when I'm going to leave the story there. Because for the film itself, leading up to the moment where the film completely changes in tone, it was enjoyable. There was some witty humour in it, there was some decent little drama moments in it, and it was fine. It wasn't getting on my nerves. I was thinking to myself, these kids are really going to grate on me badly, but that wasn't the case. The arguments might get a bit repetitive, but you sort of let that go. It's just when the main crux of the last half of the film happens, that's when it goes into disbelief territory, and that when it sort of like goes into fantastical territory, because the incident that happens is something that you can't believe would happen. What the kids do, you don't believe what they've done is, and it was just them trying to do something slightly different. Andy Hamilton and Guy Jenkins trying to do something slightly different, and I felt like it didn't work with the tone of the film at all. And so the last part of the film I could have done with either being completely changed or not at all. It spoilt the first half of the film for me. So what started off with a film that I was really enjoying, and I was thinking to myself, yeah, this could be easily, in my rating system, it's out of 10, this could easily be getting to the 7s, maybe to the 8s. It was dropping down more and more and more until I got around about the 5.5s and 6s, and that's where it left off for me. I felt like the last 35, 40 minutes of the film spoilt the film.
I enjoyed it, and I think I enjoyed it more than you did, but the thing that's interesting is the fact that you heard in that clip the kids talking. The thing is that the kids weren't given the script. The kids were basically just given notes, and people talk to them and say, oh, how about this and such, and the kids would basically just be ad-libbing a lot and playing out their lines and stuff, and that's where a lot of the humour comes from. The kids just asking stupid things that kids do, which gives it this sort of weird realism, but genuinely is where some of the biggest laughs come from. The kids' reactions and the reactions that the kids get.
It's very much like Outnumbered. That's the way Outnumbered is played. So it's very much like that. So isn't one of the actresses in this film in Outnumbered as well?
I have no idea because I don't watch Outnumbered.
Maybe there might be, but I'm not sure. But yeah, the kids, I thought they would really grate on me badly, but it's proof that it might be a decent enough film if the kids don't grate on you, because they don't.
Yeah. Draft Day, which is directed by Ivan Reitman. This is the one about American football. If you don't know of it, basically American Football 101, there is this day in America where the NFL, which is the National Football League, have this thing where they basically, one by one, all the teams have a pick, and they depending on, I don't know exactly how it worked out, but some teams get an order that basically some of them will be the first team's pick, second team's pick, third team, so on, fourth, and then they all go around that on their first pick, then they all go around that on their second pick, and their third pick, and so on. What they're picking is new players, which have been basically players that have been in sort of college football and such, have become well known, and the scouts have picked them out and basically gone, this person might be good. And then it's a case of that, if you're first on the list, you get the pick of, the pick of the litter. You get to pick whoever you want, they get paid so much, and then as it goes on and on, you get left with, your possibilities of someone else might take the player that you want before it gets to be your turn. In the film, you have Kevin Costner playing the man who is basically the man in charge of setting up the team, of doing the whole thing to do with the picks and such. He is just recently sort of getting over the whole thing of that his father, who has passed away, was fired by him, who was the previous person in charge of that. He's dealing with all that at the same time and dealing with all the things. This is leading up to the pick day, which is only a couple of days away. He is then sort of dealing with all that at the same time and manages to manipulate things and make deals with the other teams so that they can become the first team in order of the picking order. Things that he's sort of manipulated and done to get this is given away certain things for in future years, which kind of goes against the things that certain people and his staff are kind of disagree with him. Here's a clip.
I'm sorry, Sonny. Is this a bad time?
I gotta go, Mom.
This is the draft analysis we've all been working on for the last 2 months.
Allie, fire! Allie, fire!
Why am I here, Sonny?
Because Melina thinks you coached the Cowboys.
I did coach the Cowboys.
And I think you were a bad babysitter.
This city deserves a championship, and I'm the guy that can deliver it.
Well, then we're on the same page, Vance.
Oh, yeah? Then keep me in the loop.
Well, there is no loop, all right? There's me doing my job, you doing yours. Your job is to coach the team I give you. They do it different in Dallas?
Yeah, they do. They win. A lot.
Here's the thing with Draft Day. I'm not massively into American football, but I enjoy it. I actually like American football more than normal football, but that's because I've never really been in sports. But the thing of it is that this isn't really about the football. It's about the politics of football and the manipulation, the wheeling dealing that goes on behind sort of this whole thing of what happens when then the teams get to pick. And that I really found I quite got into it. I really enjoyed it. I like the fact that it focuses on that. It's like the whole thing of Margin Call, which focuses on the characters and how they behave, rather than explaining the technicalities of the money and the problems and what it's going to do to the stock market. This kind of does the same thing in that it focuses on the politics of it and not the game itself. Nothing about football itself. You don't get any parts in this where people are playing football, really, that I can think of. It's only glimpses and stuff. It's all about the inter-office stuff. There is a little bit of an awkwardness in there with a subplot revolving around Kevin Costner's character and a character played by Jennifer Garner, who have this relationship and this kind of will they, won't they go further with things. That I felt could have easily been dropped, but it's in there probably just to give more to the character, to give him more to deal with at the time. But the thing is, as well, as the movie goes on and on, it goes into the whole thing of the picking situation and that happening. You get these moments of they're quite sort of well done, I think, tension moments of the wheeling dealing of it and calling over to people when they've got sort of 10 minutes they've got to make the decision of which player they want. And in those 10 minutes, they're on the phone to other ones, making deals, figuring out what they're doing, manipulating each other, saying, if you do this, I'll do this. If I do this, you do this for me, and stuff, and that kind of thing. And I found that quite, honestly, enjoyable and exhilarating. I thought it was very nicely paced, fast-paced in that respect as the movie went on. And I really enjoyed it. It was a lot more of an impressive, interesting film to me than I expected. I honestly did not expect it to be anywhere near this interesting. I thought it was going to be boring. I thought I was going to come out and go, yeah, okay, that happened. But instead I came out and I liked it. I really, really liked it.
It's just interesting to see that a sport that America has taken so much to heart was created by us.
You've now seen this, because I saw it at the cinema, and you haven't said to me yet what your take is on it. So I'm really interested to see what you think about this.
Yeah, the only sport that Americans are passionate about that they created is basketball. The rest of their
It's just like
sports,
netball.
baseball, netball was actually created by the Canadians. But baseball, American football, stuff like that was created by us, people, England. It was created by England. And see, I've sort of like got a bit more of an interest in American football than you do because I'm a big rugby fan. I love rugby, and I've got a slight interest in American football. Next week is the Super Bowl.
The Super Bowl, yeah.
So yeah, I've got a slight interest in the Super Bowl, but it's just the problem with what time it's played. So I understand some of the nuances, but I didn't think that draft day was as over the top as it is. It's very much like I said to you when the clip was playing, very much like the Oscars. There's this huge, massive Radio City in America, in New York, I think it is, where the whole draft day, it's just all of the heads of the teams are sitting in there, and it's just like them waiting for the results to be read out, very much like the Eurovision Song Contest. But I don't think I liked the film as much as you did, because I felt like the characters were very hyperly cartoonish in a way, sort of. It's just the way the film was actually put together. There was lots of cuts and slices and scenes flowing into other scenes, and very much like the intro that you would see in Dallas. The way you see it a little bit, and then it flows into that with all these stupid slice cuts and scene swipes and all that stuff. It was just, I don't think it needed that, and I just felt like the characters were a bit weak in the film itself. It's interesting, and if you don't know much about American football, you don't need to, because it's practically taught to you throughout the film itself, and so it isn't. You don't get bogged down with a lot of American footballisms. All of these kind of things that we use when you listen to the commentary of an American football game, you don't get bogged down by that. And if it did that, it would have alienated so many more people than the film does anyway. It's an entertaining film, and I think that's what Reitman was going for, a more entertaining film rather than a very serious film, because it's not serious at all. But it's well acted. It's just I wasn't enamoured with the film as much as you were.
Yeah, I just really enjoyed it. I mean, I get what you mean about the swipes and the screen wipes, that kind of thing, but I think that kind of works for the whole, as I said, the wheeling dealing kind of thing of it. I like that aspect of it. I think that there are some of them where I found it a bit sort of annoying because you have people talking to each other, and it was like they were trying to show it like them talking in the same room, but obviously not, and that was a bit throwing off. But I thought it was quite nicely done in that it kept the pace going. There's no point. It's not a slow film. You can't say it. You can't accuse it of being a slow film at any point, can you?
No, it's not. It's very fast in moving. It's always got the ball constantly rolling, no pun intended there, because of how fast and frantic it is. If the film itself was very slow, it wouldn't actually portray what Draft Day really is about.
Yeah, that's true.
Right, final two films of the night. We have got a clip for Honeymoon, but it's pointless playing it, so I'm just going to meld both of these films together. So there's Honeymoon and Torment. Now, Honeymoon I was supposed to review last week, but the release of it was pushed back to this week. It centres around, well, it's directed by Lee Janik, and it centres around, it's only three characters in the whole film. B, who's played by Rose Leslie, and Paul, who's played by Harry Treadaway. They are newlyweds. They decide to go to B's parents' cabin in the woods. One night, B is sleepwalking. Something happens to her, and during the course of the film itself, you discover Paul discovers that what happened that night has completely changed his wife, and it might have something to do with an old friend of hers who's played by Ben Huber, who plays Will. He might have an involvement in that because his wife seems to be showing the exact same traits as B, and the ultimate payoff of the film is silly. The film itself is quite serious at times. There is one really graphically, like, very over-the-top, gory, nasty scene. Considering the films are 15, the scene is just very, what? 'Cause you just question what happens in that scene. I can't explain it because of the PG friendliness of this show, but it is just a very questionable scene. And the movie itself has some tension here and there. It's quite well acted by both Rose Leslie and Harry Treadaway. It's just one of those films which is very passable. It's not a film that's going to blow people out the water and they'll turn around going, this is an amazing film. It's just a film which goes 90 minutes, do me job. So it's simple as that.
Okay.
And I need you to fill in for a couple of seconds because I'm going to cough.
La 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 la. Yeah, bottom. I don't know. Yeah. So, what's the other film then? Go through.
Thanks for that. Yeah, I was going to cough, and I don't think people would have actually wanted to hear me coughing my brains out just there. Yeah. So, interesting way to fill in. Brilliant timing for that to happen.
Yeah. The other film. Put me on the spot, why don't you?
Yeah, why not? The other film is Torment. It's directed by Jordan Barker, and it stars Catherine Isabel, who's more known for films like she was in See No Evil 2 and American Mary for the Sussex Sisters. She was in Ginger Snaps as well, which is where she...
Yeah, that was trying to think what she was in.
Which is where she made her name for herself. And it centres around her character, who's married to the character played by Robin Dunn, and he has a really annoying son, played by Peter Dacuna. And it's just them, again, they're newlyweds. So it's sort of like tying together. The newlyweds, both Sarah and Robin, they decide to take their son for a new life in this house. However, this house holds a secret because you've got this psychopathic family who's out to kill them. And it's sort of like trying to be much like the French film Il, or the film The Strangers, which has just been announced that the sequel is happening to it, finally. And so it's trying to be like that and throwing in a tiny little bit of a Texas Chainsaw Massacre here, there, but it's terrible. It just really is terrible because it's an 18-rated film, yet it has no gore in it. Yet Honeymoon's a 15-rated film, yet it has a majorly questionable scene in it, which makes me think that should have been the 18-rated movie. This is just it's just silly. It's just a silly, silly film. There is no tension with it at all. The acting is beyond atrocious. Like I said, the gore, supposedly gore in the film, just never happens. And you're meant to believe that what this psychopathic family is doing is supposed to make the father realise what his life would be like without his son. No, it's pointless. It's got a pointless plot, it's pointless acting, it's just a pointless film. Just completely avoid it. Out of the two, I would recommend Honeymoon more.
I was going to actually ask that of the two of them, although I could figure that out before you said that. Which of the two, obviously neither of them is going to be your movie of the week from the sound of that, but which of the two you would recommend for anyone looking for a horror film?
Honeymoon, because it at least has a little bit of tension here and there, but I know that your other half will be listening and she'll probably go for Torment just because I didn't like it, and she'll probably be wondering why it is so bad.
I actually know for a fact that she pre-ordered Honeymoon.
Yeah, Honeymoon fine, but Torment, no.
It got delivered, so...
Yeah, the thing is, Torment, if you have US Netflix, is on there, and this is the box you need to avoid. It's a shape of... If Mickey Mouse had blood splattered all over the head of him. That's it, that's the box, and she'll probably hunt that down now and force you to watch it or something. It's just laughable.
Dear. No.
Yeah, it's just laughable. Right, that's it for the new releases of this week. TV movies of the week.
Do you want me to do mine first, or...?
Yes.
Okay, I've actually got two here. I've got, you might have this one. I've got Zombieland.
Nope.
It's on Friday the 30th of January, 9 o'clock on Film 4. If you haven't seen it, you should. Don't bother with the TV pilot that was made by Amazon because it's awful. It's kind of the same thing, just remade into a 20-odd minute episode, which is horrible. This, though, is a film that's brilliant and it's funny, it's witty, and it's genuinely a good laugh and has some moments in it that just make you burst out laughing. Especially
it's
a cameo by Bill Murray.
Ruben Fleischer, isn't it, who went to do 30 Minutes or Less, and I think that's his best film.
I still haven't seen 30 Minutes or Less.
30 Minutes or Less is boring.
Yeah, you didn't think much of it. The other film is a film which a lot of people may not be sure about this one, but I really liked it. I really like the sort of weird European feel it has to it, vibe to it. The American, which is released on, shown on Saturday 31st of January, 9 o'clock on Film 4 again. That's the one with George Clooney, who's a kind of a he's not a hitman, but he's a kind of a machinist for making weapons for hitman, and he's in this sort of European town, and there's people sort of after him and question of that. It's got little bits of action, but it's not an action film. It's just a sort of weird sort of thriller drama, which is unusual but nice to see.
Yeah, before I go on to my TV movie of the week, if you are listening to the show live on Channel 4 at 11:05 tonight, you've got a remake of The Evil Dead. So that's on there, and just see how much The Evil Dead, the original, is better than the remake. But Fede Alvarez, he did an okay job with the last 15 minutes. I wish he actually would have translated that into the entirety of the film. And this is the thing. Andrew's not a horror fan, yet he watched The Evil Dead, and you probably still thought the film was terrible. Well, bad.
I didn't think it was any... I thought it's just pointless, unnecessary.
It's just him trying to say, yeah, this is a really nasty, gory moment. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to just shock people. And he doesn't even shock them. It just makes it a bit giggly. But my TV movie of the week is on Channel 4. It's on next Saturday the 31st at 9 o'clock. It's Ted. It's Seth MacFarlane's directorial debut, because he did A Million Ways to Die in the West, which is a very, very forgettable film. But Ted was his directorial debut, and it's so funny.
It doesn't have Liam Neeson in it.
Yeah, and I'm glad it's getting shown on somewhere like Film 4, because if it was shown, if another place channel got it, i.e. Channel 5, they would probably shown it at 4 o'clock, bleeped out all the swearing, took away all the adult content, and you would have had like a 2-minute film. But it's on somewhere like Channel 4, where they're going to show it at 9 o'clock with all the swearing, and because it needs it, there's some gross out humour in it, but it's funny, it works. It's just a really funny comedy. We made it our film of the year.
And it's a good performance for Mark Whalberg.
And it has Mila Kunis in it. Mila Kunis.
Jupiter Ascending's out soon.
Mila Kunis. Right,
Wake up.
That's it for That's it for this week's show. Make sure you visit our website Monday Movie.
I'm just sorry. I was watching Despicable Me 2 the other day. I'm just this view of you like the minion. It's just like standing there like
the kernels. Yeah, it's scary.
Oh no! Oh, that's wrong. That's just wrong.
That's it for this week's show. Make sure you check out our website, mondaymovieshow.co.uk. You can find updates on when you can the next show is going to air, and also the UK box office top 10. Some trailers will go up there as well. We used to have reviews, but they have stopped now because we don't have any time to be able to do them.
No.
Plus, we do them on the show, so why would you want to listen to a review and also read it? We're not one of those talking books. You can also...
I like to do the written ones. I am going to try and get back into them. It's a case of... Now I'm looking at moving, so yeah, I have even less time.
Yeah, and I've got a job as well, which takes up the 9 till 5:30. Not a Dolly Parton song. It's like the extended version of a Dolly Parton song. You can also get us on Facebook, facebook.com/Monday Movie Show. We do check it. I don't know if we get any messages on there, but we do check it sometimes. Maybe
we get some nice retweets, thanks to everyone who does.
Yeah, and Twitter is @Monday Movie Show. Surprisingly, that one last week threw us a curveball. Yeah. Robert Pattinson one, which just I had to question that. You can also get us both on Twitter. I'm @CrypticTadpole, Andrew's @EHDVD.
Well, I should talking about Twitter. John Singleton follows me on Twitter.
Who?
The director of that film with what's his name from Twilight films? Not the other one, not Robert Pattinson. The other one. Taylor Lautner.
Taylor Lautner.
The kidnap one that was awful. And I completely lambasted it.
Brilliant.
And he followed me that week.
Yeah.
I don't know if he still follows me or not, though, but yeah.
I think I've still got the Soska sisters following me.
And I should say the director of Fast and Furious 2, which is the film that I like the least of the Fast and Furious franchise. So well, I've not been the nicest to him.
Well, at least I do like the Soska sisters, so I think they're following me. So that's a plus on my end. Then, surprisingly, it's me. And also, I've had a few retweets from them, and also a band which I absolutely adore, Enter Shikari. I've got a tattoo of them on my arm, so that's just they've retweeted a few tweets of me as well. And this is not a show where we sort of like big up our Twitter things. Email us mondaymovieshow@yahoo.com. That's why I found out the Robert Pattinson tweet thing from there. It still surprises the hell out of me, that thing, every single time I realise it. Also, check out a few other places, from page to screen. Stuart has been busy on a film. He's been working on with a crew on a film this month, so he's had no content. I'll give him a kick in the head for doing that. Also, check out followingthenerd.com. Mark, that site is where you need to check out your content, is on there.
Yeah.
And in Serum Foundation, serumfoundation.org.uk, brilliant charity. They'll be holding their rugby sevens very soon. But that's it for this week's show. We will be back Monday, possibly next week. If not, it will be Sunday. So you're guaranteed it's either Sunday or Monday, but full details will be on the website on Thursday night is when I normally post up the show. Until then, we'll play you out with a clip of a film which we will be reviewing next week. It's Inherent Vice, Paul Thomas Anderson's new movie. So we'll be back next week. Goodbye.
Bye.
Hey, Sanj.
What's up, Doc? You know you have no case here. So if you're going to charge him, you bet him. Otherwise, you have to let him go.
Sanj, remember who this is you're talking to? That's Bigfoot Bjornsson, Renaissance cop.
I know he is. So, what's the beef here exactly?
This doesn't have much to do with your specialty, which I understand is marine law.
We got plenty of crime on the high seas, Lieutenant.
Okay, well, so far we have murder and kidnapping. We can work in pirates if it would make you more comfortable. Either way, it's high profile.
Yeah, but given your history of harassment with my client, this will never make it to trial.
No, I think we could probably take this all the way to trial, but with our luck, the jury pool will be 99% hippie.
Unless you change the venue to maybe like Orange County. Not as many hippies down there,
Sanj, who are you working for?
Clients pay me for work, Doc. Clients pay me for work, Doc.